Discipline over desire. These are not just words. They are a battle cry. In a world that celebrates indulgence and instant gratification, the man who chooses discipline is a rebel, a warrior, a rare breed. Desire screams loudly. It demands to be satisfied now. It tells you that if you don't chase what you crave, you're missing out. It whispers that you're behind, that everyone else is living, loving, enjoying, and you're just existing. But discipline, true discipline, doesn't whisper. It speaks with a steady, unwavering voice. It doesn't beg for attention. It walks silently, but its footsteps shake the earth. To choose discipline over desire is to wage war against the flesh, against the culture, and sometimes against your own heart. It's to stand in the face of temptation, not with arrogance, but with resolve. It's to say, I know what I want, but I also know what I need. Desire is momentary. Discipline is eternal. One leads you into a fleeting high and a lasting low. The other builds you into a fortress, one stone at a time. When a man denies himself what the world tells him he should have, a girlfriend for validation, a hookup for affirmation, a relationship just to feel wanted, he is not losing. He is sharpening his edges. You see, any man can follow his desires. That takes no strength, that takes no courage. But to say no when everything in you says yes, that takes power. That takes fire in the bones. That takes a heart that is chained to a higher mission. Discipline isn't about saying no to desire because desire is evil. No. Discipline is about recognizing that desire must be mastered, not obeyed. You were not created to be a slave to your urges. You were not born to be ruled by emotion. You were made in the image of something far greater. Something eternal, something holy, something that does not bow to the whims of the flesh. Discipline teaches you to sit in silence when everyone else is speaking nonsense. It trains you to be alone and not be lonely. It molds your character in the hidden place where no one claps for you, where no one validates you, and where no one even knows what you're fighting through. And make no mistake, this is a fight. This is not poetry. This is not romantic. It's gritty. It's painful. There are nights when you'll question yourself. There are mornings when desire will feel like a storm inside your chest. But that's where the fire is forged. That's where the real man is born. Not in ease, not in the arms of temporary comfort, but in the furnace of self-denial. A man who can conquer his desires can conquer anything. Because once you stop being led by what you want, you start being led by what you believe. Our culture doesn't value discipline, it values freedom. Freedom without boundaries, freedom without cost. But that's not freedom. That's slavery with a mask. True freedom is found in self-control. True power is found in restraint. The man who can govern himself is mightier than the man who can conquer cities. because eventually desire will fade, the feelings will shift, the thrill will die, and if all you've built your life on is the chase, then when the chase ends, so will your purpose. Discipline is not cold, it is not lifeless, it is not robotic, it is rooted in love. Love for the man you are becoming, love for the mission you are carrying, and love for the God who has called you to something higher. When you choose discipline over desire, you are not rejecting joy. You are preparing for a deeper one that doesn't burn out in the morning, one that doesn't leave you hollow, one that fills you with peace, not regret. There is a quiet strength in the man who doesn't move with every emotion, who doesn't need to prove himself by who's on his arm, but by the weight he carries in his soul. People may mock you. They may misunderstand. They may call you weird, old-fashioned, too serious. Let them. Let them laugh. Because while they chase sparks, you're building a fire. While they chase butterflies, you're preparing a legacy. While they take pride in the number of hearts they've broken, or the number of nights they don't remember, you are preparing to give your heart to one, fully, faithfully, without the baggage of regret. That's not weakness. That's not lack. That's strength under control. That's discipline over desire. Purpose over pleasure. These three words separate the man who drifts from the man who drives. In a world where comfort is king and pleasure is the ultimate goal, the idea of putting purpose first sounds foolish to most. But that's the cost of living different. That's the price of choosing to walk a road not paved with ease, but carved out by sacrifice. Pleasure is easy. It finds you. It offers itself up. It doesn't require effort or focus. It only asks that you stop thinking, stop striving, and just give in. But purpose demands everything. It calls you to rise when you'd rather sleep, to walk when your body is tired, to train when your mind says rest. It doesn't shout like pleasure does, but it pulls like gravity, constantly calling you higher. Pleasure tells you to indulge, to enjoy now and worry later. It promises fulfillment, but delivers only emptiness wrapped in a rush. It's temporary by nature. It fades quickly, and it always wants more. It's the voice that says, just one more time, and never stops repeating itself. Pleasure is a pit with no bottom, and the man who builds his life on it is constantly digging deeper, trying to find the satisfaction that always slips through his finger. Purpose, on the other hand, isn't seductive. It's steady. It doesn't lure you with promises of quick reward. It dares you to endure. It tells you the truth from the start, that this road will be hard, that the reward is far, but it will be worth it. There's a reason people avoid purpose. It requires you to delay gratification, to keep walking when it feels like nothing's happening, to build when there's no applause. But the man who chooses purpose over pleasure isn't chasing applause. He's chasing legacy. He knows that fleeting feelings aren't worth trading a life that matters. Every time you say no to pleasure, you're saying yes to growth. Every time you turn your back on a shortcut, you're laying another brick on the foundation of a life that will not collapse under pressure. The man who lives for pleasure will always need more. The next relationship, the next high, the next thrill. But the man who lives for purpose has already found his direction. He's not swayed by trends. He's not driven by desire. He's grounded in something that doesn't change. And that kind of man is rare. That kind of man is dangerous to a world that thrives on distraction. Because when you know your purpose, you become untouchable by the things that used to control you. You no longer bow to what feels good. You follow what is good. Not because it's easy, but because it's right. Purpose forces you to ask hard questions. Why am I doing this? Who am I becoming? What will this cost me long term? These are questions pleasure doesn't want you to ask. Because pleasure can't survive in the presence of reflection. But purpose thrives there. Purpose needs those questions. It needs that kind of honesty. A man of purpose is constantly examining his path, not to be perfect, but to stay aligned, to stay faithful, to stay focused. You don't stumble into purpose, you choose it. And you choose it again and again, especially on the days when pleasure seems more appealing, especially on the nights when loneliness creeps in and you feel the weight of your discipline. That's where the battle is won, in the small, silent, consistent choices that no one sees. That's where you become the kind of man who can carry weight, who can lead, who can love with depth and conviction, not just convenience. Because a man who lives for purpose knows that love itself is not about pleasure, it's about sacrifice, commitment, honor. And if you can't live that way now, you won't magically become that man later. Living for purpose means being misunderstood. It means walking alone sometimes. It means saying no when everyone else is saying yes. But it also means peace in your soul because you know you're not wasting your life on things that fade. It means waking up with direction, not confusion. It means building a future that doesn't crumble the moment pleasure isn't available. A man of purpose is rooted like a tree. He grows slower but stronger. He may not have the flash of others, but he has fruit that lasts. Every time you deny a temporary thrill for the sake of your long-term vision, you're not losing, you're investing. You're storing up strength for the future. You're shaping yourself into someone who can carry more, endure more, and give more. Because purpose will stretch you. It will push you to your limits. It will show you your weakness so it can make you strong. And if you keep choosing it, day after day, you'll look back and realize you didn't miss out. You leveled up. You didn't fall behind. You stood apart. You didn't live for yourself. You lived for something bigger. conviction over compromise. This is the dividing line between men who build kingdoms and men who sell their birthright for a moment of comfort. Conviction is not convenient. It doesn't bend, it doesn't break, and it doesn't ask for permission to exist. It is the fire that burns inside a man even when everything around him is cold. Compromise is easy. It's applauded. It's dressed up in words like realistic and open-minded. But underneath, it's nothing more than surrender. Every man will be tempted to trade what he knows is right for what feels right in the moment. And every man must decide whether he will stand on what he believes or slide into what is popular. To have conviction is to live with a code written in stone, not sand. It's to plant your feet when the ground beneath you is shaking. It means there are lines you do not cross, even if it costs you relationships, opportunities, or comfort. Conviction is not loud. It doesn't have to shout. It simply stands. It exists quietly in the choices you make, in the thoughts you reject, in the words you refuse to speak. It shows up in the decisions you make when no one's watching. Conviction is integrity in motion. And in a world obsessed with image, conviction refuses to be bought. Compromise, on the other hand, always starts small. It never walks through the front door. It sneaks in through excuses. Just this once. No one will know. It's not that serious. It disguises itself as wisdom and maturity, but its aim is always the same: to lower your standard just enough that you lose sight of where you began. Compromise doesn't happen all at once. It happens inch by inch, until one day you wake up and realize you are not the man you set out to be. Your words sound the same, but your heart is weaker. Your smile remains, but your strength has drained. That's the cost of compromise. It gives you temporary peace and permanent regret. Conviction isn't about being perfect. It's about being anchored. It's about having a foundation that doesn't move when life throws its storms at you. A man of conviction doesn't change his values based on how he feels or what the crowd is doing. He doesn't redefine truth to fit his comfort. He lets truth define him, even when it's painful, even when it costs him everything. That kind of man is rare. That kind of man is feared by a culture that runs on confusion and compromise. Because when a man knows who he is, he cannot be manipulated. When a man is ruled by conviction, he cannot be controlled by temptation. Conviction gives you clarity. It tells you what to say yes to, and what must always be a no. It simplifies your life. You're not tossed around by trends. You're not pressured into things just to fit in. You live with a spine, not a shadow. Compromise might make your life easier today, but it will make it heavier tomorrow. Every compromise you make is a seed planted, and it always grows into something bigger than you expect. A look becomes a habit. A habit becomes a chain. A single decision made in weakness can become a weight you carry for years. But a man of conviction sees the long game. He's not living for the next thrill. He's building for the next generation. His eyes aren't just on his comfort, but on his calling. He's not easily swayed because he's already settled. Settled in what he believes, settled in who he is, settled in what he will not become. That kind of certainty is dangerous to a world built on blurred lines and shifting standards, because it exposes what others are lacking. It reminds them that there's a better way, a higher way, a way that requires sacrifice, but rewards with peace. Conviction isn't always rewarded in the short term. It may cost you relationships. It may make you look like the outsider. It may isolate you from people who once accepted you. But what it gives you in return is a clean heart, a clear mind, and a legacy of strength. When you live with conviction, your soul stays intact. You don't lie awake at night wondering who you've become. You don't carry the weight of a double life. You walk in light because there's nothing to hide. You walk in strength because your soul is not divided. Compromise breaks a man slowly. It chips away at his courage, it silences his voice, it turns conviction into convenience. But the man who refuses to compromise becomes a rock, unmoved, unshaken, unbent by the pressure to blend in. He doesn't need the approval of the crowd because he has the approval of his own conscience. And that is worth more than any praise this world can offer. Conviction gives a man backbone when the world tries to make him bow. It gives him focus when everything around him is noise. It gives him peace when everything else is chaos. It is not easy. It is not popular. But it is powerful beyond measure. Solitude builds strength. In a world obsessed with noise, with constant connection, with digital validation and endless scrolling, solitude is treated like a curse. But for a man who is becoming something more than average, solitude is sacred. It is the place where the noise dies, where the mask falls off, where the truth speaks without filter. It is not loneliness. It is not absence. It is presence. Presence with yourself, with your thoughts, with your mission. Solitude strips away the distractions and demands an honest confrontation with who you are and who you are becoming. Most people run from solitude because they're afraid of what it will show them. They don't want silence because silence reveals what the noise hides. In the crowd, you can pretend. In constant conversation, you can avoid the real questions. But when the room is quiet and the world is still, you have to face the truth. And the truth is what makes you strong. Strength is not found in always being surrounded. It is found in becoming whole when you are alone. The man who can stand by himself does not need to be held up by others. He is grounded. He is built from within, not propped up from the outside. Solitude teaches you to be your own voice of reason, your own source of motivation, your own source of discipline. In solitude, you find out what you're really made of. When there's no one to impress, no one to compare with, and no one clapping for you. You wake up early, not because someone told you to, but because something in you refuses to sleep on your purpose. You stay focused, not because you're being watched, but because you know your future is being shaped in those unseen hours. Solitude is where warriors are built. Not on stages, not in applause, but in the shadows, in the grind, in the silence. You cannot carry weight for others if you've never learned how to carry your own. Solitude forces you to shoulder your own doubts, fears, questions, and weaknesses. It teaches you not to run, but to confront. Not to escape, but to endure. It builds emotional and spiritual muscle. It turns soft hearts into solid foundations. It exposes the areas where you've depended too much on others for strength and direction. The man who grows strong in solitude doesn't fall apart when support is taken away. He doesn't panic when he's misunderstood or left behind. He's been there before. He knows how to walk alone. Strength built in solitude is not loud. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't post every accomplishment. It doesn't beg to be seen. It simply shows up, day after day, with consistency, focus, and fire. It moves with purpose, not performance. It knows that most of the real work is invisible. Most of the victories happen in private. The man who embraces solitude becomes dangerous, not because he talks big, but because he moves with quiet conviction. He doesn't need the crowd to validate him. He's already been validated in the fire of isolation. He knows what he believes. He knows what he's chasing. And he knows no one else can do it for him. There is a kind of strength that can only be found in stillness, not in activity, not in constant movement, but in focused stillness, where your heart can realign and your mind can sharpen. Solitude is not an obstacle to your growth. It's the environment of it. It's where you gain the clarity to lead, the discipline to endure, and the inner strength to say no when everything around you screams yes. It teaches you to stop performing and start preparing, to stop pretending and start building. A man who cannot sit with himself is a man who will always be a slave to others. He will always need someone to tell him who he is, what he's worth, and where he's going. But the man who has learned the power of solitude carries his identity with him. He walks into a room already full, not with ego, but with certainty. Not with arrogance, but with depth. Because he's faced the mirror. He's heard the silence. He's answered the hard questions. And he's still standing. Solitude teaches you that peace is not found in other people, but in purpose. That clarity is not something you find in the crowd, but something you discover in the quiet. That real strength isn't loud or flashy. It's the ability to walk through fire without needing an audience. It is in solitude that the blueprint is drawn, the foundation is poured, and the strength is formed. The distractions fall off. The unnecessary fades away. And what is left is you. Raw, real, and ready to rise. Every man who has ever done something great has walked through seasons of solitude. Not because they were broken, but because they were being built. The world may never celebrate those quiet seasons, but they are the ones that matter most, because when the world does come calling, when the pressure increases, when the weight becomes heavy, you don't crumble. You've already been through the fire. You've already carried the silence. You've already stood alone. And now you don't fear it. You walk in it. You draw strength from it. You become unshakable in it. Delay is not denial. In a culture that moves fast, expects faster, and worships the idea of instant results, the man who chooses to wait is seen as strange, outdated, or even weak. But waiting is not weakness. Waiting is not failure. Waiting is not proof that something is wrong. Delay is often the ground where greatness is grown, the space where strength is built, and the furnace where faith is tested and refined. A man who understands this truth does not panic in the pause. He does not crumble under delay. He stands even when nothing is moving, because he knows the silence doesn't mean he's been forgotten. It means he's being formed. Delay stretches you. It pushes your limits. It forces you to confront your motives. Why do you want what you're waiting for? Do you want it for your ego, or do you want it because it's part of your calling? Delay reveals the answer. It strips away impatience and exposes the core of your desire. And if the desire is impure, the delay is mercy. Because what you get too soon can crush you. What you grab before you're ready can destroy you. So delay is not punishment. It's preparation. There's a reason strong men don't rush. Because they know some things only grow in time. Oak trees don't shoot up like weeds. They grow deep before they grow tall. They build roots before they chase the sky. And that's what delay does. It digs your roots deeper. It forces you to build character, not just chase outcomes. It makes sure that when you finally get what you've been waiting for, you can actually hold it. You can carry it. You're not shaken by it, because you didn't just wait for the thing. You became the kind of man who could sustain it. Every man who's walked with conviction knows what it feels like to wait while others move, to watch people get what you've prayed for, to sit in silence while the world seems to be moving forward. And in that place, it's easy to let doubt whisper lies. That you're behind, that you're forgotten, that you missed your moment. But those are lies spoken in the valley to distract you from the mountain. Because delay has never been a sign that you're out of step. Sometimes it's a sign that you're being hidden, protected, kept from distractions or detours until the right door opens. The man who understands the value of delay is dangerous because he's not rushed by culture, not manipulated by pressure, not broken by waiting. He knows time is not his enemy, it's his tool. He works while he waits. He sharpens his mind. He trains his spirit. He doesn't waste the in-between. He turns delay into discipline. He doesn't let the pause become passivity. He doesn't sit idle. He moves in faith, knowing that forward isn't always fast and growth isn't always visible. Most people want results. Few want refinement. But results without refinement lead to ruin. And refinement takes time. It's not glamorous. It's not exciting, it doesn't get likes or applause, but it's what separates boys from men, wanderers from warriors. When you learn to embrace delay, you stop chasing validation and start building vision. You stop living for the next fix and start focusing on the foundation. And foundations matter more than feelings, because feelings shift with the wind, but a strong foundation stands when everything around you falls. Delay is also the place where your identity is tested. When nothing's happening, when there's no confirmation, when the path ahead seems invisible, do you still believe in the calling? Do you still stand on your values, or do you start cutting corners to get there faster? That's what delay reveals. Not just how badly you want it, but how willing you are to walk the hard road without compromising who you are to get where you're going. Men who can wait well lead well. They don't panic under pressure. They don't flinch when others rush past, because they know what they're building isn't fragile. It's not quick success. It's lasting impact. And that takes longer, but it's worth more. It stands taller. It holds stronger. It endures storms that shallow success cannot. The world tells you that if it hasn't happened yet, it probably won't. But the man of faith knows that delay isn't the death of the dream. It's the deepening of it. He knows that some things take longer because they're being built to last. That some seasons feel silent because they're sacred. That some doors don't open until the character inside matches the vision ahead. That's not denial. That's divine timing. Every day you wait in faith, you're gaining something unseen. Patience, endurance, wisdom, focus. These are not given, they are formed. And they're not formed when everything is fast. They're born in delay. And once they're formed in you, no man, no failure, no delay can take them away. That's the strength of delay. It gives you more than what you were waiting for. It gives you the capacity to hold it, honor it, and multiply it when it finally arrives. Discipline is the true freedom. In a generation that equates freedom with doing whatever you want, whenever you want, however you feel, the word discipline sounds like a prison. But the truth is the opposite. Real freedom doesn't come from indulgence. It doesn't come from comfort. It doesn't come from always choosing the easy way out. Real freedom comes from self-mastery, from having authority over your own impulses, from training your mind, your body, and your spirit to obey what is right, even when everything in you wants what is easy. The man who is not disciplined is not free. He's a slave to his emotions, his cravings, his distractions, and his excuses. Discipline is the quiet decision to show up even when nobody sees you. It's waking up when the world is sleeping. It's doing the reps when your body is tired. It's saying no when everything in you wants to say yes, not because you enjoy the pain, but because you see the purpose. Discipline is what builds men who last. It doesn't give you what you want today. It gives you the ability to keep walking until you reach what's worth having tomorrow. There is no greatness without discipline, no strength without sacrifice, no legacy without limits. The man who trains himself to endure discomfort becomes a weapon in a soft world. The man who lives without a girlfriend is not lesser, he's in training. He's learning how to master himself before trying to lead someone else. He's learning how to be faithful in silence before being seen in the spotlight. He's learning how to carry the weight of his calling without constantly needing someone to validate it. That is strength. That is honor. That is the kind of man this broken world desperately needs. So if you're that man, or becoming that man, keep going. Keep building. Keep standing when it's lonely. Keep rising when no one's clapping. Keep walking when the path is narrow. One day, your discipline will speak for you. Your solitude will become your strength, and your silence will have built something so powerful, so real, that the world will have no choice but to take notice. Not because you shouted, but because you lived with a kind of fire that cannot be faked. You don't need to be seen right now. You need to be shaped. Because when the time comes, when the door opens, when your moment arrives, you won't just show up. You'll be ready.